Nation.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the blockchain.
Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits, yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on the day space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here, and does us a solid. You'll also find they may not be up there yet. We'll get them up there soon. The link to the video chat over on Steve's account today on X, as well as the abstract chat already popping off this morning. GM to all the abstractors, as well as the YouTubers. GM over there. The best GMers drop the GMs in all those chats. As always, I'm Cap, Joe Membico, Steve. Never any financial advice on the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky. Meme coins acceptably risky and go to 0 to moments notice, except for Boop. The meme coin from the meme coin launchpad is up only for the next 30 days at least, and then it can do whatever it wants. I kid, but not really. Crypto's risky. It's all risky. Just we're not financial advisors. We really don't know what we're talking about here. Just join us for some fun, some information, and some education along the way. GM Steve, you have a good weekend?
It was a good weekend. I should say it was an all right weekend. I was had a little bit of a stomach bug that kicked in, so I wasn't too active as much as I'd like to be, which was frustrating. Because I like to use the weekends to at least I do get a lot of work done, but I also have, kids activities, but I have this freedom of time where it's like I can go for a long run, I can get a good lift in. And this weekend I wasn't really able to do that because I was had a little bit of a stomach bug, but I think I'm coming out of it today.
Looks like Mel got plus sign. I don't know if that's just Mel or everyone is missing the chat button. X gets finicky every once in a while. I've seen this from the last two at the Clubhouse spaces from the Bored Ape Yacht Club account. The chat's not been there. It's just been the plus sign. I don't know. Do we know what causes that to happen? Is it different versions of X? Was there an X update or something?
Could not tell you. I know that for me, the chat is there. So that purple pill is there if you are. So appreciate you, Mel, finding a way to get in there regardless. But GM to everybody out there, give us a like, a retweet, a comment on the room as we get this thing
Legends out in
going.
the chat this morning early. Cold open full of legends out there, Steve.
Yeah, lots of people out there. Drew Dobbins, Peanut, GM, Wajda, thanks for getting out there. Lon, the Saw, Big Bear, Von Front, and Mel, as always. Chief, Teacher, Katie, Mike C, Clay, Das Scrub, Maria, Beanie, Brick It All of our good friends, friends over in the abstract chat, Thomas, Booching, Von Front, Mesh, getting there early, Diablito, always. And of course, we hit the YouTube ones on the screen, but and the X folks on the X video. But give us a like, a retweet, a comment. Swing over to the abstract chat. The best GMers say all three. As we mentioned, we don't sell things to you. We have yet to do so, but we will give things away. Tomorrow, I actually need to connect with Dort to get him on stream for the BZ giveaway. We give away cards. Shoot, reminder, I need to get my BZ distributions from last week out, so I am a week late on those. Sorry. Had a little bit of a crazy week. I think I mentioned my mother-in-law ended up in the ER, ended up getting some surgery, so it was a little bit busy there. Had a busy week with the kids and family, so everything's okay, but no excuses. I need to get our cards out, but we give away cards. We're working on closing a deal. We're going to be giving away more things to our audience. So we do that. The way you can pay us, like, retweet, comment, or if you feel so inclined, you certainly could tip us on abstract, but not asking for that. What's that?
That sweet Pingu.
That sweet Pengu, which is up another 7 to 10% this morning, which is always nice.
Wait, is that like a 2x from breaking even?
Yeah, I think a 2 to 3x from here, and I'll be just about even from where I was doing buying. No, I think honestly, it's about 1.5, 2x from here. So one big parabolic run, and I'll probably be rushing to the exits because I don't know if my is not ready for this one, Cap. But I don't know, man. We got a lot, over the weekend. It was a busy weekend. Some interesting things, for sure. To hit on. I think
before you get into it, because it's probably not today's topics, but I see Cab out there. Open invite. Just hit me up. We're overdue to get them back on the show. I feel like every other day. I feel like there's some big news coming out of Klanos. So we flew over their new collection coming on Swee, and all that news is exciting. But yeah, I see Cab out there, and also Whale. Did you see, we were just chatting a little bit ago about the IRS preparing to slash their crypto unit. Did you see this?
No, I saw you tweet about it, but I didn't know. So the IRS is firing people who are in charge of enforcing crypto. Is that what you're saying?
I haven't dug into it. I think I don't take Tyler as a shit poster. That came from Tyler did its morning newsletter, and he doesn't just do stuff to. I don't think
he's the opposite of a shit poster.
Yeah, he doesn't do stuff just to drive engagement. So yeah, I didn't verify the source, but he's a trusted source. So yeah, if you think about it, if you remember, it wasn't that long ago that they announced they added, I think, 86,000 agents, and a lot of them were specifically to focus on crypto. That's just a lot of headcount, man. It seemed like a lot of I don't know, in an era where I feel with AI, things like auditing should become significantly more efficient. I don't know. I am, it's not like, oh, hey, don't pay your taxes now because they're cutting crypto people. It's a signal to me that whereas prior, they might have been those 86,000 people, if half of them were to focus on crypto, probably like in the weeds, looking for anything and everything. And there was probably going to be some good people that were, and from their perspective, doing things on the up and up and everything they're doing right. But there's a lot of ambiguity here. There's a lot of unclarity when it comes to regulations, and there's a lot of nuance. And now I feel if they're making this move, again, I've not dove into it, but the highest level thought is that continue to do the right thing, but I don't feel as if I'm going to end up having an audit just because I'm in crypto. I feel like they will go after people who, they claimed $20,000 on their taxes last year, but yet they bought a new Lambo and a $5 million home. Those people probably should have IRA agents showing up at their door. I just don't think you need 86,000 agents to do that. I have a little bit of experience with these 3-letter agencies. They're not fun. like I think I've shared on here before. I went through not one, but two audits with the US Department of Labor as a small business owner. And the net of both of them, I think it ended up costing me like $370 because we were miscalculating how bonuses were supposed to be paid to salary exempt managers who were, they were proper, like they had the right criteria, they qualified as salary exempt people, but there was a nuance in the calculation of bonuses. And so out of a team of like 100, we ended up owing like $350 in back taxes, or I'm sorry, back wages. But it probably cost me $30,000 in time and headaches. And like, it took me out of my business for one of them. The second one wasn't that bad, but one of them, like I'd never been through that before. I was like, thought I was going to lose everything. And I was like, what have I done wrong? And it was just, they said it was random. I don't know. But it was like a month of my life that I had to go back and forth with. And again, we weren't doing anything wrong to our knowledge. We miscalculated something that, our payroll runs at the time were, we're doing like six figures every couple of weeks. So $350, it's literally was a rounding error, but it cost me a month of my life and probably $30,000 to $50,000 of productivity. So it's just like, I understand the intent. I'm not one that says, abolish the IRS, although I do think there's probably a conversation to be had about restructuring taxes. I'm not an expert, not a conversation I want to get into. But I do think it felt that they were like on a warpath, or a witch hunt maybe felt more appropriate previously. I don't feel that now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's I try to do everything as by the book as possible with my accountant, just because I want to be ready in the event of an audit and be ready for anything that were to come my way. Although I am a small fish, a very small fish in comparison to some of these bigger people who, just pay your taxes, kids. That's what we always say. Pay your taxes. Make sure you are thoughtful about it, because
but my point is, you could pay your taxes, be thoughtful about it, be doing everything right, still be subject to an audit, go through hell for 6 to 8 weeks, and end up owing a couple $100.
Oh yeah, I've heard how horrible audits can get at times. And to your point, like, it's part of the system. It's like, when you get pulled for a random security check at TSA, and it's like, that's frustrating, but it's like, well, they got to do it to everybody just so they can make sure they're able to do it. So it's part of it. But it's definitely a frustration. So yeah, so I don't know much about that, but I'll because I've never been audited. Although you mentioned doing all the calculations and running the numbers. At some point here, I do want to get into the dude calculations I did, because I think it caused a little bit of a kerfuffle that I didn't realize.
Oh yeah, I missed the kerfuffle.
Well, I'll show you kind of a couple tweets that had to do with it, but my inclination from what I saw from some of the tweets, I think I got subtweeted by somebody that indicated that people weren't thrilled with. It was weird. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'll see if I can find the let me see if I can find the actual subtweet. It was from 8260. He was a very a strong member of the Doodles brand, one of the great community members there. I think he was the one who actually called us corpo shills, though, when we were like, hey, they could have handled everything a little better with Julian. But I don't know. For those who missed it, well, again, give us a like or retweet, a comment on the room. Again, slower to warm up. As always, X spaces are a little less discoverable. We've noticed numbers down across the board on everybody. So do us a favor on that. But I don't know. So just to give topics of the day, and we can figure out where we want to go. We don't have to hit the Doodles thing first. I think it's a very interesting discussion, because I think it's actually a good, fascinating airdrop discussion. But the Doodles TGE. So I was running the numbers on that, and I am a nerd. I like to take the economics, now that we have access to tools like ChatGPT and other AI agents, throw in the economics and figure out what my potential airdrop is going to be, and what the airdrops for various people are going to be. And I noticed an interesting anomaly in the Doodles one, which made it more difficult than other ones. So I can get into that in a second. We have Boop. We talked about a little bit, Dingling talking about the staking and what airdrops they can get with that, and an interesting model continuously. By the way, I still not launched or created a Boop token, so I guess I will miss out on that generational wealth from that. I didn't dig into Tether announcing their AI product, but apparently Tether is announcing Tether AI. So if anybody has more on that, or we could save for a bunch on Thursday. I don't think it's a rush one. And lots of Bitcoin news. Brown University buying Bitcoin. and Arizona governor vetoing the Bitcoin bill. I don't know if you saw this one, but the House and the Senate passed it in Arizona,
heard,
and she vetoed it.
I heard she's just an anti-Trumper, and she's gonna anything Trump is for, she's against. I don't know her. I don't follow it. That's just I take it for what it's worth.
So let's dig into this one first, and we can get to the Doodle stuff maybe after, because I think there's some interesting Bitcoin news. I got the more you know on it, so we can hit on that. But so the things that happened Bitcoin related over the weekend. So Brown University purchased almost $4.9 million worth of Bitcoin through the ETF, representing just over 2% of its equity portfolio. So Brown University says, we get it, we're in. And then last week, we reported on the fact that Arizona had passed the House and the Senate a bill to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve to spend as much as 10% of sort of the state's, I believe it was the state's budget. I got to look at specifically the language on Bitcoin. Well, the Arizona governor, Katie Hobbs, I believe is her name, went ahead and vetoed that, meaning they no longer can, they won't do it. And she stated, I'll pin it to the top so people can see it if they're curious. She stated, and I quote, Arizona's retirement funds are not the place for the state to try untested investments like virtual currency, despite the fact that Bitcoin has been the best performing asset really of any major asset over the last decade. Now, there's a Senator Wendy Rogers who responded by saying politicians don't understand that Bitcoin doesn't need Arizona. Arizona needs Bitcoin. But it's an interesting, it's an interesting conundrum, because it's a thought where you do have in this case, the House and the government passing this, and politics as a team sport is something I'm never a fan of. But it sounds like I did see the response. I think it was Thomas in my response mentioned something to the effect of, look, this is an area where they, do everything. They go against everything Trump says. It's a Democrat. They don't like Trump. You see this with politics as a team sport. It's really interesting seeing this decision, though, given everything, It
felt like it feels still, not just because I'm not gonna say this undoes it. It feels like it's becoming a bipartisan issue. It feels like it's getting support across both sides of the aisle. Nationally, anyways, no?
It does, but this is a interesting one. I don't know.
This was a chance for Arizona to lead the way. I think will this age poorly is a great way to put it. It's like they could have led the way. Both. Everyone wants this in her state. She says no, so this goes one of two ways. Either she looks like she cost the state and put them, eliminated their lead position, or Katie was right. And obviously I'm hoping she's not right here, but bold move, I think.
It reminds me, it's reminiscent. I don't remember. I think it was one of the Dakotas, but it might not be. I might be messing that up. They passed through the House, or I believe what happened was the people voted during an election cycle to legalize pot, like legalize marijuana. And I don't remember if it was the House or the Senate or it was the government specifically, but they vetoed the bill for the legalization of marijuana because they decided this wasn't good for our state after a literal vote by the people passed it. And this is what's interesting is I understand she is basically the CEO who's in charge of making sure the state stays in, in good standing. But Arizona has a lot of Bitcoiners, a lot of people who are very forward thinking on this, clearly why they were the first, state, to my knowledge, right, to pass one of these. So vetoing it is a pretty strong move to say, because in theory, she could have been okay, we're going to spend 0.02% of the state. You think she could have had discussions about how much, not 10% of the state's budget, which was it up to, but could have said hey, we're going to buy 10 Bitcoin, not necessarily 1,000 Bitcoin. And so I find that part interesting. And it's interesting to see the sort of, counterpoint there, or the other side of that, where Brown University, goes ahead and purchases almost $5 million worth of Bitcoin through the ETF, and other, universities, states, etc. There are others who have done such things. So I don't know, man. It's an interesting thing where it's this hits a little bit to your point of it being a bipartisan issue. I hope we get there. But I think we're hitting that point now where we're seeing that pushback where we talked about the biggest risk crypto has is Trump, is that people have such a polarizing feeling.
It's wild that he could be one of the biggest proponents, but also the biggest risk at the simultaneously.
Well, it's sort of like to a degree. So like, Robert Kennedy says a lot of wacky shit that I don't agree with, but a lot of the healthy stuff I do. But like and so I do think it's reductive when like Republicans and other people are be like, how could Democrats not want to make America healthy again? They're like, well, maybe they think polio vaccines are good, so that's okay. But like at the same time, they might not like certain things that he says, but like pushing back on getting like artificial flavors and bad ingredients that are literally banned in other countries out of our food is good. But because it's somebody tied to Trump saying it, people are like, nope, all bad, right? Elon doesn't do things very well with Doge as a whole, all across the board necessarily. I think a lot of people have had pushback who've dug into it, but certainly the idea of reducing government bloat is a good one. And, pushing back on that is interesting. So I think it's like funny how politics become a team sport on both ends of it, by the way. Like you see the same thing. The marijuana bill I mentioned was almost certainly a Republican Congress saying, even though the people voted for this, we're vetoing it. And in this case, it's a Democratic governor saying, I just don't like anything that's associated with Trump. I associate Bitcoin with Trump. Therefore, I'm going to veto this thing the House and Senate pass. So it's just the team sports of politics, and the inability to actually pay attention for what's best for people is wild. Like, who knows if she's like gearing up for some bigger run for a bigger position, and therefore she wants good standing with her party, and she's prioritizing personal gain over that. Who knows if she is ignorant? I don't know, but I find it to be a concerning trend in politics more and more, that it's like people vote for something of your state and you go over it because you decide what's best for them instead of listening to what they say. Or your constituents have universally decided, or at least your representatives have universally decided that we want to start investing and positioning Arizona with Bitcoin because we've decided that the jury is no longer out on this thing. We've had 10 years of data. 10 plus years of data. It's performed well. We want to be part of this. We see it going this direction. And then your governor's like, nah, JK. Like, I don't think that's good. Like, I think that this, like, I see situations where vetoing is important, but this is who do you think is supporting her vetoing it if Arizona is a pretty crypto forward state and the House and Senate passed the bill? Like, who's telling her, who's advising her to veto this thing?
Yeah. It seems like a personal issue. I don't know. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So that one is certainly a frustrating one to go through. But I don't know. I did dig in a little bit on some other Bitcoin investments as well, though.
We do have our local government correspondent on stage. We want to go to Funky and get his take on this.
Is Funky on stage? I see him as a listener. So if Funky's on stage, feel free to jump in here.
Yep. GM Funky.
Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me okay because I'm already at the gym, but I just wanted to chime in because I read a bunch of articles on the whole Katie Hobbs situation in Arizona. First and foremost, she had previously said she was threatening a veto if the state legislature did not give her the healthcare spending sort of considerations that she was looking for, concessions, I guess is probably a better word. They did. They actually passed those healthcare spending bills that she was looking for. So everybody thought that she was going to actually sign the Bitcoin thing. And so I think it was really a surprise that she vetoed it.
So she got her quid pro quo and she went back on her word, huh?
Basically, yeah. And what's really crazy is that the language of the bill, if you read it carefully, does not say, because I thought the timeline was really warping, like, oh, Arizona's going to have a Bitcoin bill and they're going to start buying. No, under no circumstance. It was really couched in very careful language. In fact, it said the state may, very conditionally, may buy up to 10% of its financial, reserves to buy Bitcoin. So in no way was this a mandate. Even if it had passed, it was something that was just giving the state some flexibility. I think it's a terrible look, and I think this will probably go down in history as one of like Germany selling all of its Bitcoin at like 50K because they thought they were smart. Right? Like, I think it's a really stupid position. And the legislature is largely controlled by Republicans. If you look in both the Senate and the House, even though it was bipartisan and there were some eyes on the Democrat side, I just think it's a terrible look for Hobbs at the end of the day.
I agree. I'm mostly apolitical. I don't follow this stuff, but seems like one that could potentially blow back, right? Like, there's certainly some people in her party that thought this should have passed, and just seems like especially if it was, hey, I want this. If you do this, I'll pass this. And then for her to go back on that, it just, I'm not going to say career suicide, but just seems like a really bold, aggressive move for what does she have to gain by this?
Yeah, it's a weird.
Nothing as far as I know.
Yeah, it's a weird situation for sure, where it's like that's bizarre, and it just, again, it shows you. Mel, why is life so political? Exactly. Like, why can't it just be more straightforward in that sense? Like, I just don't understand it. And it's it's to your point, like, not a smart political move unless there's somebody who decided it was a smart political move because it's a cute little, end around that she pulled, I guess. And, maybe people in her party support it. I'm just not sure. It's bizarre. It's bizarre for sure. And again, this is my issue, is like, the US, the whole point of the US is states' rights. You go to a state that associates with your personal, sort of, the idea is like, hey, you don't like one state, you can always find another one that has your personal views. That's why states' rights are so important. That's why the Electoral College is important. There's why a lot of these things regarding states is important. You could find one where you want to live. And so it's like, if you as people vote to, again, legalize pot, and then your government says, just kidding, we know it's better for you. Or you as a state legislature decide, hey, we think we should do strategic investments in Bitcoin. And then your governor says, just kidding, we don't agree with it. It's weird because that's the whole point of the checks and balances system, one would argue. So one could argue like, hey, this was a crazy move by Congress, who doesn't like Bitcoin and thinks crypto is worthless, and says, crazy move, dumb, gotta veto it. I don't know. I get the system of checks and balances, and that's important. So it's important for that to exist in place, and that's her right as the governor, and she was elected to do so. But this doesn't seem like one of those situations where you want to pull. Like, it's sort of like I explained to my, people like, go ahead.
Did she even provide any reasoning why? Did she provide us again? I didn't do any research. All I saw was the headline. Did she provide any statement of like, this is bad? Like, other than just, oh, this is untested, that's not a real reason. It is tested. It's been out for over a decade. Like, what is she talking about?
That was the extent to which I saw, is she said, like, the retirement funds, like, and look, her whole point is this, which I understand to a degree. It's like, her whole point is like, a lot of people wouldn't want to have Bitcoin and crypto heavily in their retirement fund. Now, again, 10% or less, fine. It's basically the government of Arizona saying 10% or less allocation in our retirement funds is what we'd be comfortable with.
And do we know, like, because to Funky's point, the bill was May. It wasn't like they're going to put 10%. Is they may put up to, but it could also be zero. Who makes the decisions? Like, who is the fund manager for these governments?
Funky, do you know the answer?
CFO. Usually each state has a chief financial officer. We have one here in Florida, and then there's usually a board underneath that person.
So one
individual kind of collaboratively work on those decisions.
The CFO will have the ability then to decide once the bills are approved that determine like the parameters of the budget. The individual can decide, like, if that were to approve, if there's a Bitcoin pro CFO in Arizona, that CFO could have said, okay, one swoop, we're going to one clip this 10% right from the jump. Or they could have been an anti-Bitcoin CFO and they could have said, that's fine. It's fine. It's approved, but I'm never putting any of our funds in there while I'm in office. Am I understanding that correctly? Yeah. So maybe like she's like, she doesn't see eye to eye with the CFO. Maybe she thought they would go too aggressive. I'm reaching for straws here, but trying to think through why veto something like this.
Well, though, here's the problem. She didn't veto it and say, can we reduce to 5? Can we reduce to 2 just to make sure? Because similar to, we talked about this before. When you sign a contract, everything in that contract, because Cap and I have to sign contracts from time to time, whether it's with sponsors or deals that we do. And in those deals, you have to decide, like, if you're comfortable with the terms, because anybody in theory could enforce the full terms. And it's certainly possible that she said that her thought process, which she didn't state this, which would make it easier, she'd be like, look, 10%'s a lot. Let's go ahead and go with 1% at least to start before we start getting really wacky with this thing. And that would have been a different statement where it would have been, but her statement basically was like, this is an untested asset class, so we're not going to mess with this. Meanwhile, Brown University is buying $5 million. Other companies are buying into it. The United States has talked about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Multiple countries have decided about it. It's like sort of like you're basically saying like this is untested and we don't believe in it, but everybody else is kind of jumping on this train. It feels like I guess like the TLDR, we're still early, I guess is what I'll say about it, is that we're at the point where it's still a political issue that people are using for political jousting. And she is under the impression it's possible she's tone deaf because her constituents might be annoyed about this. It's possible that she's exactly on the money and her constituents will say, hey, that's how I feel about it. And because I can't imagine she did this without talking to like her highest donors and other people like that. So I don't know. We shall see what that looks like. But I'm going to do this. I've done a little more research on some Bitcoin investments. So we'll do The More You Know, brought to you by ENS.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
It's time for The More You Know, brought to you by our friends over at ENS. And look, we're talking all of the sad things about the Arizona governor as the ball was on the 1 yard line, getting QB snuck into the end zone to get Arizona buying Bitcoin. She fumbled it. It went to the other team. Did not end up getting across the goal line with the veto, but let's make things a little more positive. Brown University just made headlines buying $4.9 million worth of Bitcoin through BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin ETF Trust. That's over 2% of its entire portfolio, Arizona. And they're not alone. Harvard, Yale, and the University of Michigan have also dipped their endowments into crypto, often quietly through custodians like Coinbase. Stanford University has joined too, also investing through the Bitcoin ETF. And it's not just universities. The state of Wisconsin pension funds has become one of the largest institutional holders of the Bitcoin ETFs, with over $300 million in BlackRock's IBIT. Michigan's retirement system recently added $6.6 million worth of exposure as well. Of course, there are the big dogs when it comes to companies. MicroStrategy still leads the way, holding over 1% of the entire Bitcoin supply. And Tesla famously added Bitcoin to its balance sheet in 2021. And Block, formerly Square, made a long-term and Block, formerly Square, has made long-term Bitcoin a core part of its treasury as well. From Ivy League schools to public pensions and Fortune 500s, Bitcoin is no longer fringe, Arizona. It's becoming a fixture. And that was The More You Know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than you know, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, and unmistakable to your security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to learn more and secure your ENS domain. So look, I mean, Arizona's not doing it. You got a lot of major universities doing it. You got the state of Wisconsin doing it in the retirement fund. So it's not crazy to say this made a lot of sense, but here we are, a couple days later, and Arizona is no longer in the Bitcoin game, at least for now. So I don't know. I'd be pissed if I was a citizen of Arizona. I'd be, I would be signing pensions or change.org and kind of like having a point about it. Cause I think it's like, it is a very frustrating thing if you're in a state that is digital currency forward and your governor says no. So I don't know. And any other thoughts on that, or we can keep cooking?
Yeah, we can keep moving. I mean, it'll be following. What's next? Like, does it go? Where does it go from here?
I don't know. I guess they try to negotiate with her to say, like, was the 10% the issue? Was the Bitcoin the issue?
So they talk to the governor, redo the bill, and come up with something that they think she'd sign off on?
I guess that would be, but the problem is, this is the problem with, like you said, the response. There wasn't an indication from what I read that it was like, hey, 10% is like far too many. And if they can do up to that, I don't want them to be so aggressive. It was, we don't think that this untested digital currency is a good thing for us to own. So I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. I guess it's a negotiation discussion from there.
I am hard pivot. I'm down bad this morning, Steve. I had the perfect GM post and I blew it.
Okay.
What is going on with Good Vibes Club? I'm going to do it tomorrow. So knock on wood. Hopefully the floor keeps running and it'll hit better tomorrow. I took a picture yesterday. I was like, oh, this is going to be an amazing GM post for Good Vibes. And I remember what my GM post was about the IRS this morning. I should have went Good Vibes route. What is going on with Good Vibes? They're up another 20. They're 0.67. Is it the blue chip NFT of 2025?
I don't know, but I feel like an idiot because
You're muted, or it's on my end. Looks like my end. Give me a
your
sec.
end. Try it again. Do we
Bear
hear
with
me?
us if you're listening in. I just got to plug, unplug, and change the mic back and the speaker back and check.
I wonder if they can hear me on stream is the question. No, but because last time this happened, they were able to hear me on stream still, but I don't know, man. I feel like an idiot because I had a bunch and I saw them going down. I was like, look, I love this team. I have an honorary. I have a really rare one that I feel good about. I'm going to hang. I'm going to chill. I'm feeling good. And I capitulated because they were going down. And I was like, I want to support the team, but I also don't want to be a bag holder. And I need the money. And I'm trying to clear some liquidity. I'm trying to buy more Bitcoin, things like that. So I actually think I weethed one near the bottom. I was looking at the numbers. The numbers were really bad. The last like dozen sales were weeths, and it happened over a course of a couple of days. I was like, that's bad. Then they ripped from like 0.2, whatever they were, all the way up, and even 0.1 something, all the way up to like 0.67 where they are today. And yeah, like I think I see them on the timeline. It's good art. People like them. People are vibing. It's a good message. So what's happening next? I don't know. I haven't kept up nearly as enough. Maybe we owe Chris and Tyler another show.
You're down to 1 plus the honorary now.
I'm down to 1 plus the honorary. So
I got 2, and they've been listed. They were like over 2x above floor, and I'm considering delisting both of them now because I want to keep 1 for the long run. They just need. I mean, I have my honorary, and that's perfect. The 2 I have, they're like, I guess, kind of like mid, not even like really mid rare-ish, but they're not floors, I guess. And I'm considering delisting another one because it feels like this is the best looking NFT chart we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, in a long time. It's looking real nice. And I don't know, man. Like part of me is like, yeah, like maybe I should jump back in and get another one. And then part of me is like, no, because I think part of the challenge with this collection is I don't think there are floors. They have such a Go ahead.
That's it. No, you nailed it. It's like mine are like, the reality is mine are probably floors, but they did such a good job with the traits in this collection and the badges and the collector scores that you're seeing a lot of stuff like this. If you're looking at the screen, I've got the chart pulled up here. Floor must have ran up much higher because this is showing a week sale 10 minutes ago, 0.72.
Yeah, but what is it? Is it somebody who wants?
Semi-rare. Yeah, semi-rare. It's got the rainbow eyes. But this one, floor right now 0.69. The last sales here 0.68, 1.05, 0.72, 0.66. Some floors 0.79, 0.8, 0.74, 0.96. There's a few weeks, 1.15, and then there was a one of one that sold over the weekend for. It was a trade. So it may not
11 maybe. It was like 11 ETH maybe. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it was like 11 ETH plus another cosmic or something like that. But yeah, it was a massive sale. I think it was a trade, so it may not show on the chart. But that's the thing is like they did really good job with the collection, and they've got collectors collecting. Like when I say we haven't seen a chart this good in a while, it's kind of mind blowing as I'm scrolling through this. It's got like I was not considering getting another one. I made just a trade. Like this is one like I'm in at 5. I've sold 3 of the 5. I should have been buying floors, buying some of these rare ones. Because if you did the old NFT reveal game and you were, at reveal, you were out there making offers on cosmics and monochromes. And like, here's one that's just sold for 2.25. And I don't even know what the big deal of it is. I guess, yeah, it's gold with the good vibe hand and classic gold hair. So it's like a triple gold. And like these are huge sales for an NFT collection and that's new. I'm pumped for the team, and I'm a little surprised that I shouldn't be surprised. It's the PTSD coming through, but it's just the collecting has continued. This is not just people buying floors and then buying a floor. People bought it for 0.3 and they're flipping it for 0.6. Most of these sales are actually above floor, Steve. It's pretty incredible. Congrats to the team.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, to your point about the traits, it's like I bought a couple above floor when I bought them because I was looking at them and I was like, yeah, like I like that one because the hair looks like my hair, or that, outfit I like, or whatever. And, Dawn bought one above floor similarly because she liked it. Like I see one I used to own on there that is listed up that I probably should check how bad I sold on that one. But yeah, I just think like I think that there is a like when you make a collection that has such. I actually think Doodles is like this, although I know there's some floor Doodles that some people don't vibe with as much. But generally speaking, I actually think Doodles fits his mold as well, where like I think Doodles, like there are certain traits, like Dawn likes the purple hair. She likes the purple hair. She got one with purple hair. Like that's her go-to on the Doodles. I like ones that have a certain look to them that look like the OG. Like I think like people will shop above floor for ones they really like in a collection that is really well done with the art. Apes have this to a degree where people will go above floor for like certain traits they like, for sure. Although apes with things to blur and things have become a little more fungible in that sense. But I think a really well done collection, like Zuki.
It's not just the blur. It launched after the blur era. It really, I mean, they worked on this for 3 years, and they really did pull a lot of things into the collection that works. And I think it's been really well executed. Dort in the abstract chat says both 1 of 1 sales included a cosmic in the deal, effectively raising the sales numbers by 5 ETH. I didn't realize those cosmics are up to 5 ETH. That's crazy. Also, TMA added as ambassador. Migos, Pingus, and Apes all collecting hard. So much overlap, no divisiveness. Everyone wants to be part of GVC.
Yeah, and I think that's
really well done. Really well, not just the traits and the art executed, but just the momentum they've carried out of Mint. You love to see it, and we're never going back to 2021. There's never going to be that mania again. However, this makes me really optimistic that we could see another surge of creators coming into NFTs as a great opportunity to either launch or grow and scale their creative IP. It's just you're going to have to put in the effort. You can't just go get a Fiverr designer and slap 10,000 PFPs together. You really need to put but those that do the high effort and what I'd like to know, if anyone has the Dune port, what has the team earned in royalties since launch? Because no one's talking about this, and this is what got so many creators excited about NFTs in 2021. It's back. It's just no one's talking about it yet. I'm going to guess the team's cleared close to 7 figures in royalties. Is that crazy or no?
I don't know if it's 7 figures, but I bet you that
what is going on this morning.
They can hear me on the stream still, which is
unplug, Steve. Hold up. Apologies, everyone. I don't know why it is not this morning, but Steve, you should be back now. Let's get a quick check.
Yeah, we should be good now. But I think the people on the stream are able to hear me still, which is kind of crazy.
Whatever it is, we lose the audio on Spaces from you from time to time, and it's no settings. It doesn't nothing change. The only fix is unplug the USB cord, plug it back in, and then change the settings back to it. So you're good now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's weird that they can hear me on stream, but then that like you go out and I think Spaces goes out. So who knows? But yeah, I think that many royalties might be high, but at the same time, like they're actually collecting royalties. People are collecting, and I think Dort kind of nails it. Dort had this one from the get-go because Dort is a good vibes guy. I would say like not just agnostic of good vibes club. Dort is a good vibes guy, and I think that Dort being such a good vibes guy makes him a sort of a nice and friendly guy who would fit this club. So he spotted this one early, and he's right. Like if people are just kind of chilling and they're comfortable with it, I don't know, man. Like I think like a lot of people are like there's nothing to not like about Good Vibes Club, I guess is my general thought process on this one. It's just like who doesn't like the team, who doesn't like the art, who doesn't like the mechanics. I saw an influencer, I'm not going to say who, you would never even guess, a guy who was a KOL. I feel bad because I don't want to speak poorly, but it was a KOL like a couple cycles ago. They actually were kind of nasty to me at one point out of nowhere, so there is a little like not Schadenfreude because I don't root for people. I actually want people to be happy, but there's a creator from a while back who, with Good Vibes Club was like, oh no, a Doodles derivative, kicking up or whatever. And now I'm getting a weird cap on something. So I don't know. Like I don't know if there's something you're doing on your end or not, but like hopefully it's good. Just being weird this morning on Spaces in the stream piece. But basically it was like, oh, a Doodles derivative running. Oh my God, send the space to 0 or something. And it's like I don't know. It's not a Doodles derivative. It's like a good group of people with a good experience, with an actual business behind it, creating a community based on some value. So we might want to have, I mean, we should probably get them, Klanos, and a couple other back on the show to kind of chat through everything just to see how it goes. So I don't know. But yeah, Cap, I will say another group we should need to probably have back on the show. You lose me again?
Dude, I don't know what's going on.
Try it again, because
I lost you again.
I can hear you and they can hear me on stream. Like Mel says, I can hear you here. So it's a, I don't know if it's a faulty connection or what. What about now? Are you able to hear me? Looks like he's not able to hear me. But I'll keep going while Cap's getting everything set in. But because I know the streamers can still hear me.
I have no idea what's going on. I switched the port, but it's super annoying. I apologize, everyone. Appreciate you bearing through.
But you can hear me now, yeah? Yeah, it's interesting because I'll be able to still hear me on stream. So I wonder what's going on this morning. Kind of funky. I was going to say, we should probably get Klanos, Good Vibes, back on the show at some point just to kind of talk about that. Another team we should get back on the show. I do want to talk about this Doodles thing and get your opinion, because people are going to have to take a walk with me on this one because it's a little bit complicated. And I'm even explaining it to Art Dude in the chat a little bit, which is getting a little more complicated. So I don't know if you saw this. I just tossed this out on a Sunday. I didn't think anybody was going to care that much, to be honest, because this is just really nerdy stuff. I think it speaks to the bread guy sort of adage of talk about things you actually care about and somehow people might care. So I do these nerdy allocations on airdrops. On the Azuki one, I got it nearly on the nose about how much each Azuki was going to get at various market caps. And the way this thing started was I was trying to figure out my airdrop for Doodles, and then I was trying to figure out other people's airdrop for Doodles. And there's somebody I know who owns, like, I don't know, it's something like 3 or 4 Doodles and, 4 or 5 duplicators or something. And I was trying to figure out like how much they are going to get from an airdrop perspective. And I was surprised how low their airdrop was. And then I was surprised how low my airdrop was. And like, again, I don't care. It's free money. It's free money for holding stuff. So I'm by no means like complaining because it's I sent my dude to space a year ago. But what I basically found was Doodles introduced this soft staking mechanism of space miles a few years ago. And now that I'm getting the echo again, I wonder if I'm going to cut out from you because that's what happened each time. But hopefully I don't. So they introduced this space miles mechanism a few years ago. Or a year ago, I should say, roughly. It was, I think, April last year. And what I found was this really interesting part, which was the top 5 holders have almost 33% of the miles, and the top 25 holders have about half of the miles. Now, there are 1,800 plus people who have some sort of space miles registered. So the number I kind of figured out, then I basically dug in more. Of those top 5 holders who have 32% of the miles, they have roughly 3% of the Doodles and 4.5% of the duplicators. So think about this. In theory, if you're looking at the airdrop, and I did on the 30% allocation, which I'll release it today, but I saw basically my allocation. I'll have to look at what my allocation would be. I have it written down somewhere, what my allocation would in theory be at like if space miles are a heavy factor. I think, and not even my allocation, I'll kind of give a generalized one. But I guess the point being on this one that I'm trying to make is that if they own 3% of the Doodles, but 30% of the space miles, there's a chance that these people get 10x on an airdrop that you would on a normal airdrop. So you think of a normal airdrop, let's say you own 1 ape, 1 Azuki elemental, whatever it is. You, in theory, when you get 2 Azuki elementals, get twice the airdrop. So the team has a decision to make here, and I'm curious your take on this one, or anybody else who has a take on this one as well. Do you reward proportionally to space miles, meaning somebody with like 4 Doodles is going to get a significantly lower drop than they would get if they just had 4 Doodles going in an airdrop. But those people at the top are going to get 6-7-figure airdrops. And the people who are maybe holding 2, 3, 4, 5 Doodles are going to get a disproportionately less airdrop. Or do you try to make it so the whales don't get quite rewarded? Or I'll tell you another suggestion in general, but you understand like kind of the math that's going on here in the distribution. It's basically saying the space miles introduced the staking mechanism, which disproportionately rewarded the top 5 to 25 people, meaning there's a chance where instead of being a whale and getting a large airdrop that's 1-to-1, like, hey, if I own 1, I get 1. If I get 2, I get 2x. And if I own 100, I get 100x the airdrop. These people are getting a disproportionate reward for being at the top if space miles are the sort of deciding factor. And just to kind of share one more piece of context on that. That was my shared tweet. I'll share one more piece of context on that just to show the 8270 tweet, who's might have more alpha because he is deep in the community, says, everyone knew the Doodle Space Miles rules long ago. Don't go crying just because you ignored the potential of them. I sort of responded. I wasn't sure if this is a subtweet to me, but I wasn't crying. I found this fascinating. So like, does that track to you? Like, I guess my question is like, your thoughts on, do you take that top 5 and give them 30% of the airdrop, even though they have 3% of the supply? Or do you try to distribute it more across your 10,000 holders?
I think they should reward the space miles. That's what the entire time they've been beating the drum. Participation's the alpha, participation's the alpha, participation's the alpha. And I think they not only should reward the space miles, they should reward the people who bought their packs. And if they don't, it's going to be a big miss. Like, the entire time they've been pounding the participation drum. Participation's the alpha. And if they don't reward those individuals, it's going to upset a lot of those people. They're going to kill their future participation for DreamNet if the people who've been participating this entire time don't get outsized rewards.
So that's where it gets complicated, because let's say somebody owns 4 Doodles.
Shame on them for not doing what the team asked you to do.
No, but let's say they own 4, send them to space day 1, have like 4 duplicators, bought a bunch of packs. They would still be like disproportionately lower, meaning like their reward would not be what you would expect if it were 1-to-1. So the way
why? Because they haven't had them in space long enough?
No, even if they've had them in space, the space miles took people, and if you had more Doodles and more rare traits, because they gave a premium to owning like rare toys and things, to say like, hey, owning rares matters, owning more duplicators matters, the gap spread out. That's what that second chart was. So basically, if you're at the top, it's not necessarily about being a whale. It's about owning the right Doodles. And it's about owning, and as time went on, owning the right Doodles and the duplicators just spread out that spread. So there became this disparity where you might own 4 Doodles and you've launched since day 1, and someone else might own, 10 Doodles, but those 10 Doodles have certain traits and things that were given in the premium space miles. They might own a few more duplicators, and slowly over time that spread. So the longer the soft staking happened, the more the spread happened. So it's like the longer it was going, it means that somebody who might have participated in a way where they say, hey, I can only afford to own 4 Doodles. That's a lot of money to me. Or I can only afford to own 5 or 6 or 2 or 3. They've slowly gotten that distribution more and more from that top 5 to 25. So like, to your point, like someone could have bought a ton of packs. Somebody could have done all these things, and unless they decide that they're going to really reward packs or really reward those tickets, the ownership of the rares and the largest numbers in space slowly spread out in time. So those sort of like dolphins, those maybe mini whales, the people who get hurt the most by this would be somebody who owns 3, 4, 5 Doodles, because they would have held and staked from day 1 as expected. But they would have seen that spread go up where that top 5 to 25 who played the game correctly got more disproportionate rewards. And the longer the time goes on, the longer that spread goes. So go ahead.
Where do you even find the Space Miles site at? I know I Doodles in space. I don't even know how to get back to it.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated to find. You need to like log into your studio account and then click on the Space Miles, and then you can see it. And it's
how
also...
how do I get to the studio?
So it's just doodles.app, and you go to doodles.app.
It started?
Yeah. And and you can just go to doodles.app/space/tracker, and that'll actually give you a really clear answer. And if you want to find your specific space miles, you need to search your wallet, because your wallet is like my studio wallet would show I have 0 space miles, but then my actual wallet with my space guy will say that I have like 6,200 or something. But yeah, like it's doodles.app/space/tracker will get you the number. I basically pulled the data from there, pulled it into a spreadsheet, cleaned it up, got the total number, and started looking at percentages. I was just surprised to see the spread. So your answer is, because the other thing that was introduced, and I want to get your
my answer, I'm going to read. I just looked at the leaderboard now, and so my answer is going to be they need to tier it out. That would be my guess. Like otherwise, it is going to be too heavily weighted. Like even in the top 10, number 1 has almost 4 million miles. Number 10 doesn't even have a 1/10 of that. They have 300,000 miles. So it's like it is so the top 4 have 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 to 10 million miles, and that's probably more than the next 100 combined. Like it is really heavily weighted at the very tippy top.
Right. And that's actually the point that I was making, that there was the surprising discovery. So like, but based on your methodology, what that would do is that would potentially piss off those whales, right? Because you've been doing the space miles for a reason, and you would have in theory played the game exactly correctly, right? Like when somebody's trying to get a Kaido airdrop and they get to the top of the leaderboard, they percentage want to have that leaderboard representative, right? Like, and so to your point, like that's the conundrum I feel like they're in, is I feel like it's a very tough situation for the team, where to your point about a tier drop off, if they tier the top 10, is it fair for 1/10 of the miles to get less than 1/10 of the miles to get the same as somebody who did 10x the work in theory?
I don't care as long as the position 1,151 gets as much as the person in the top 500. That's how they should tier it. I kid, but
I'm curious.
Outside of the top 1,000, am I going to be fudding a drop day?
Yeah, well, and that's what's tricky about it, is I know a lot of people who, again, like it's just like they stake day one, they might have 1 or 2 doodles, that's all they can afford. And the
Out
point
of
here,
10,000 doodles, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, out of 10,000 doodles, only 3,500 have been sent to space. It is interesting. And it says like, Vanglog saying, I feel most holders that have sent their doodles to space won't feel cheated out. Here's the thing, like, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. Like, to me, it's like, if they decide that they want to tier it out, it's a decision the team makes. If they decide they want to reward the whales, that's a fair decision the team makes. If they decide that they want to have some sort of like de-escalating sort of number as it goes up where there's diminishing returns, I think that's fair. It's a smart team. They'll figure it out. I'm not trying to FUD the doodles, because I know some people I think got upset. It must have caused a kerfuffle based on some of the responses I saw.
Who was mad though?
I don't know, but based on 82's response saying everyone knew, so I tweet this just thinking nobody's going to care. And his response was, everyone knew the doodle space miles rules long ago. Don't go crying just because you ignored the potential of them. So that tells me that there must have been some sort of discussion or debate. I did
the post of Van Log, who also has did a calculator on Dude a little while ago in his pin post. I just put that up top.
I'll be curious to dig into that, because I was I'll get into that in a minute here. 82 in another one where he quote tweeted me, I missed this one before, saying a few months ago everyone was clowning space miles and those who trusted the team. I don't recall that, but must have happened in Doodles chats. And he goes, now everybody wishes they didn't fade the team and are asking for the miles to be less significant. Keep fading Anon. So I assume there must be people in the Doodle saying this, because I certainly didn't say that in my post. I think maybe he's trying to say that that's what I'm implying by my post. Wasn't what I was implying by my post, though. Like, what I was implying by my post is, this is really interesting. Nobody else, like, I'm fascinated by like watching this space unfold. They introduced a mechanic that helped people show loyalty. That mechanic changed a lot of things. Von Frunten saying it would be more interested to understand the miles per OG. Number one is number one because they own a bunch of OGs. They will make a ton because of the number of NFTs they own. By the way, in my calculator I was playing around this weekend, I did have a base cost for Doodles. Hopefully it's tiered / spread across per OG basis. Number one still makes a bunch because of their holdings, but smaller holders. But I guess, like, to Von Frunten's point, I got to look at the numbers. But like number 3, for example, I think number 3 had like 80 dudes and number 2 had like 37 dudes, but maybe they were more rare. So like, to Von Frunten's point, does then number 2 get less than number 1, or does the space miles factor in? It is a very, very complicated scenario. I'm excited to see how Vanglog did the math, because I was trying to do the math with 30% allocation, then I did like maybe 25% of the allocation goes to, OG doodles and duplicators, with 90% doodles, 10% duplicators, and then space miles come into play. Every calculation I've done on it is really complicated. It's really hard to do. And so it's not like FUD to the team. Like, people are, again, I think people took it as FUD. That wasn't intended. I was not crying about space miles. Certainly wasn't intended by that. It's just an observation of a fascinating mechanic and thinking of like, how would I handle this if I'm in a team? Because like, Cap, your point about tiered rewards, if someone with 400,000 space miles gets the same as someone with 4 million, that doesn't feel good. Or if it's just a little bit less, it doesn't feel good, right? Because you did everything you were supposed to do. But at the same time, if someone with 20,000 space mile, I think it was someone around 30,000 space miles had like, I got to check the numbers. I think it was like 4 dudes and 4 duplicators, or 3 dudes and 5 duplicators. That's hard. Like, that's hard for them to be like, so I get a very strong disproportionate less when I've done everything I can. This is what I can afford. But on the same side, like, the team's got to reward the whales. So, like, do you reward the whales who are holding up the collection in that way? Do you reward the people who are your, mini whales? Do you reward the individual holders? It's a very, very complicated thing.
And do you keep it all in-house, or do you think there's any chance they work with one of the InfoFi marketing agencies like the Kaidos of the world?
That's an interesting way to say, well, hey, I hope they do, because I just got like 6K impressions on that tweet about Dude.
By the way, I think I shared I had a few $100 of Boop on my DGen wallet. It was absolutely because I shouldn't say absolutely. I'm now near certain that it was because I did have my Solana wallet tied to my Kaido account. I didn't think I had added it, but it was in there. And I saw a post from the CEO, founder of Kaido, that led me to believe that's where that Boop drop came from, was from Kaido.
Yeah, so maybe they do something like that. Maybe they introduce Kaido to get a social file element or do their own social file thing. Again, really smart team. I wouldn't be surprised if they can build their own without having to go through Kaido and pay that fee. They could be really good about it. They could reward people who have, like, and I think
the advantage of paying the fee, though, is they do their own. They're going to get all their existing base talking about it a little bit more. Going the Kaido route, you get a lot of other people talking about your project that previously weren't and probably wouldn't otherwise. Now, are they just going to dump their dude and move on? Probably. So it's there's two sides to it, but I think I prefer that route as opposed to let's give everyone who's transacted on Solana over the past year a claim.
Yeah. I would be inclined to agree. I'm going to see if I can find it, because Rare Ed's asking, did I check what accrues of a holder were to buy today? Again, forget space miles. I did something that gave like a base. I'm going to see if I can find my base numbers, because I did at some point find a baseline that I guessed on. So the baseline I did was a baseline of like, if you own a dude. I did so many numbers in this. It was so fun to play around with. I did a baseline at one point, like, if you just have a dude, and it was like, I allocated like 25% of the, like, just thinking like, okay, like, owning is important. So if you take 25% of the 30% airdrop, I think might have been the number I used. And based on that, I guessed like what a baseline dude would be and what a baseline duplicator would be. I think I accidentally deleted the tweet thread that I had, which means I got to start over, but that's fine because I want to redo some numbers. So I don't know. I'll see if I can find it in here, but I did do a value. Oh, so my baselines that I came up with. So this is based on the logic. So for Rare Ed, this is probably wrong. Again, I don't know anything. I got the Azuki one pretty right, but this is way more difficult. This is a dude and duplicator base value based on market cap, with the logic that I believe it was 25% of the 30%, with 10% to 10% to duplicators, and 90% to Doodles, based on that 25% allocation. At a $215 million market cap, a base dude just with no space miles, I had it $1,687, and a base duplicator at $200. That was the number I had there at a 500 million. So 250 million is the working number I've been using for most things. So I did Rare Ed do that number, guessing about $1,700 per doodle at a baseline level, and $200 per duplicator at a baseline level if they do it that way, which, again, that's just a wild shot in the dark guess because it's really complicated. It's much harder than 1-to-1. But yeah, man, it's hard. It's like, I guess, like, more than anything, like, I love the fact that they took this more creative mechanic and they said, hey, holders, soft stake, we want to reward rares. That's cool. Giving a bonus to rares. I actually think that's really smart. I think over the year, though, it maybe had this unintended consequence of separating haves and have-nots pretty hard. And now they have a decision to make. And it's, again, I want to use Vinglog. I'm going to use your, I think that Cap said I think you said you pinned it. So I'm going to check what it says on mine for your airdrop and see how close it is to what I had. Because I'd shared one over the weekend. So I'll go to that. But I don't know. I don't envy anybody who has to do these airdrops, because it's really hard to, he did a whole calculator based on Doodles allocation, space miles, duplicators allocation. So I need to really dig in to make this worthwhile, and try to figure it out, because it's hard to, it's hard to do without the. I'm just going to type in my space miles based on the numbers he has in there already and give a general calculation to see what it gave me.
Okay, so it will dump most likely. Unfortunately, I'm rooting for it, but I'm expecting it to dump. Although I'm cautiously optimistic, rooting that DreamNet hits. I'm still struggling to get my brain around why they would launch Dude when DreamNet's not ready. And I hear DreamNet's coming soon, so why not just time it up? I don't get that, but the thought in my head now is this is much more like a virtuals than it is a meme token. And that I'm bullish on if they can pull it off. There's massive executional risk, but if the platform sticks, I don't think they're going to find the users outside of this space. But if they can at least get a core group of users that stick and they become daily active users, like that to where there's some demand for the token, there could be something there. But I'm fully expecting a massive sell-off on claim day.
By the way, Vanglog, you are incredibly awesome. I need to play with your calculator. Your calculator is far. I mean, like, I like playing around with myself. Like, wow. I like playing around with the numbers myself. That was an interesting one. Yeah. I like playing around with the numbers myself in basically using my my quant ChatGPT with like numbers and pulling the numbers and cleaning the data and stuff. But your calculator is awesome. That's really cool. The fact that you have all these different sliders you can play with, I would recommend adding a $250 million, $100 million market cap just for the sake of like 250 million is the number I've been playing with at launch. But great calculator. It's actually very cool. Numbers were a little higher than me for space miles that I came up with for mine. So I like your calculator better than mine. But that is an amazing tool. Really, really nice job there. That's really cool. I have to say.
Real quick digression. You mentioned your quant ChatGPT. It's getting scary, Steve. I've been using it every day. I type one sentence and that's my research for the daily MLB slate for the underdog best ball drafts or the underdog battle royale drafts. Yesterday, Sundays it's just like an afternoon take. It's usually an interesting slate in baseball because people will take days off and it's afternoon games, it's a night game. Anyways, long story short, yesterday's its take yesterday was very like contrarian. So like I asked for the top 3 stacks and as well as the top 3 pitchers. Its number 1 stack was the Baltimore Orioles. Not many were on the Baltimore Orioles yesterday. They've been slumping pretty hard, but it says Lorenzen's the opposing pitcher only has a 9% walk to K rate and a league worst 41% hard hit allowed. Camden boost, and it's hot. Camden boost, it gets a boost because it's hot out. Long story short, it not only did the Orioles explode, the Orioles explode, so did the Royals. The Royals set a team record yesterday in home runs. And this is like, I didn't see another talking head at all. I'm not spending much time researching it, but I didn't see anyone talking about the Orioles-Royals game yesterday. And it was the top stack that ChatGPT set out. I just ran with it, did all my builds. Unfortunately, I didn't get the right players in the stack because one of them hit 2 home runs. I did not have Jackson Holiday, but it's eerie how good it is becoming at predicting sports outcomes. By the way, we got to give Billy some credit. Billy Betts picked the Kentucky Derby winner over the weekend after having picked the Masters champion. Like, I know there's variance. I know sports aren't entirely predictable, but I'm ready to say that ChatGPT, maybe it's not achieved AGI yet, but I'm pretty confident in saying it is a better analyst for predicting outcomes than humans already.
I like it. I'm doing math on dupes, by the way, while I listen to you, but I agree with you. I think it's actually probably going to change the way we do everything. It already has, but the idea that you can actually go in and get like real-time advice, like this performs better based on this, here's the stat.
Yeah, it's not just giving me answers, it's giving me actionable advice that is so far, I know it's a small sample size, but over the past month, insanely accurate. More so, and I'm not just saying this because this is an arena that I've been very deep in for over the last 10 years, and I've consumed tens of thousands of hours of content. And over the past month, ChatGPT has become my go-to talking head.
Yeah, it's become my go-to everything, honestly. Like it's scary because the more dependent we become, it's like sort of what search was back in the day and what social media was. Like the one thing to be cognizant of now that we know what happens with social media and with search is Google can directively maybe move the needle a little bit. We saw that we've seen this during elections where they push one way or the other on certain search results on Google, where they can, prioritize certain things. On social media, certainly it can drive you in certain directions. In fact, we know that, certain foreign governments use Facebook to tinker where they would try to organize. I believe there was like one, don't quote me on this because I don't want to be like way off, but like we're basically, I want to say it was, I actually don't want to say which foreign government because I don't remember which one, but basically they had like a, defund the police and police rally that they had at like the same area. They organized at the same place through fan pages they set up, which seemed very legit to try and cause a problem at there. I want to say it happened a few years ago. So that's the extreme end of it. But on the non-extreme end of it, my Aunt Phyllis can go ahead and share anything that has a picture and some words on it that comes from a foreign government or maybe somebody who's just trying to cause a problem, and they can have that work. So we know directly social media and what they search in our feeds. In fact, this has been my complaint recently about X with my X social media feed is when I go to For You tab, it's like Elon tweets and some political stuff that I don't engage with. And so I go to lists I've created in my following tab. But the reason this is important to say is that, we were having a conversation. We had a conversation months ago, maybe even years ago at this point, when we were talking AI on the show and how I thought that there would probably be an entire industry around SEO within chatbots because SEO within LLMs can make a huge difference. And I think that this is one of those examples where, what we get served within our LLMs can change the way that we do things. We will take certain vitamins based on it. We will take certain actions, exercise certain ways, change certain habits. In fact, I shared some vitamins over the weekend. And I had some people telling me that one of my vitamins has some bad research on it. And I dug into it a little bit. ChatGPT suggested it, said everything was all safe. So I think there's a lot of danger here, but also a lot of excitement if used correctly and understanding the full scope of rules that go along with it. Want to ask one more question on the Space Miles thing before we keep running out of here. Lacos has suggested a vesting schedule, which I actually wholeheartedly disagree with. We're like the top miles maybe have to vest over a period of time, but get more because then they're incentivized to hold. I think people would riot if there's a vesting schedule. We saw this with Pirate Nation and Blast.
So yes and no. I like where he's thinking. I think how it's packaged is important. So don't force the vesting, make it a very attractive staking incentive option would be my. This is also though, like it's a lot easier to do that if DreamNet's live. So this is where I'm having trouble connecting dots that I'm not aware of yet as to why they would rush the dude token when for all intents and purposes, it seems that DreamNet is weeks, if not months away. Because if that's live, then I could think of like, without even knowing what it is, like, you could do basic, elementary staking stuff there and just, yeah, I think they need something, but I would probably go staking with some incentives over forced vesting.
Yeah, and I think that's like I guess it's just I don't know any forced vesting or any like, and I know you're not saying forced vesting, you're saying staking, incentivization, but like any vesting schedule like that, if it's not pre-announced, I mean, again, Pirate Nation, they went nuts when it was basically like a 6-month vesting schedule, and the second you claim it, the rest is burned. I believe it was Blast had some whales who needed to wait on unlocks after they had their airdrop. I think if there's going to be a vesting schedule, now again, there's another factors here, which is I think the Doodles team is very in touch with their whales and top sellers or top holders, and therefore they're probably going to net out in a good place with them regardless because they do a very good job managing those, at least from my understanding. Like they seem like the most excited holders, the people who are most engaged. They don't seem to have as many disgruntled whales. But Lacos made the point where Pranksy sold a bunch of rares close to the finish line. Maybe Pranksy's just knew about a vesting schedule or something, like that's always also possible too, because, selling so close there is interesting. So I think
or is he still holding? Holding?
Oh, Pranksy's still holding, I believe, a ton. I'll have to double check on Pranksy's public wallet, but I believe Pranksy's still holding a bunch. But yeah, I don't know. And again, I think they do a really good job rewarding. I think they do a really good job rewarding their top holders in a variety of ways. Like, I think they do a really good job putting them in films, putting them on McDonald's cups. Like, that is real utility to me. So I don't want to downplay that. It was just a discussion that I thought was worth having because I don't know that we've seen an airdrop mechanic like this where there was such a dispersed difference where, like I was explaining to Art Dude was like, well, wouldn't one doodle be 2 and 2 doodles be 2x, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, no. And I gave an example where I saw someone with like 25,000 points, I think. And someone with 300,000 is 12x with, I think, 5x the doodles and 7x the duplicators. So that's a 2-3x return on their investment on the space miles. So Venglog said just Prinks, he just wasn't happy with the AI approach and kind of changed it, which is also a fair move. If a whale is just like, hey, this is like we talked about that, where it's like if it's going to require more participation versus previously it was like, hey, hold some rares, get in movies, get on McDonald's cups. That's pretty cool. It could change how people think of it. So I don't know. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to cause any negative things. I just like the airdrop calculations. I did it for Azuki and some other ones, and I just think this was really complicated. I don't know what the right answer is, and I just want to have the discussion because I thought it was interesting, and I think some people thought I was trying to FUD. Wasn't the case. I'm so fascinated to see how the teams utilize space miles versus just holding versus being in space. And they've told you like participation's the alpha. This is the highest form of participation, I guess. I don't know. So I guess we'll see where it nets out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really hope it is not just we talk about dude for a day or two during drop and then it's out of sight, out of mind. I hope, and I'm not, this isn't a shot at the team. I hope this because I want them to succeed. And I just dropping a token without any utility right now to a bunch of NFT holders is not it.
Yeah. And like, there's a chat. I don't want to like say who in the chat, but someone mentioned like the people who should be complaining are the ones who bought Doodles based on order boarding events like TIFF or McDonald's that would not get the same allocation as those who launched into space day one. But yeah, that's the tricky part. It's like that catch up mechanic. And I agree. I am also rooting for the team because I like the team. I think they're awesome. I think they do a good job. Once we get clarity on exactly what dream that is, how it works and how the token fills into the ecosystem, could be pretty cool. Could be a pretty cool thing, and could be a lot of opportunity to continue to build out and reward their best holders and make something that's fun to play with. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. But anyway, that was sort of like I just thought it was an interesting conundrum, I guess, that they're sort of running through, and I don't have a clear answer. Cap, I actually wanted to hand it to you for a second to talk Boop. I know you were excited about Boop. I know you stay excited about Boop. I did not launch or create a token yet. So what's that?
You should.
I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not going to.
Find it. Like I challenge everyone. It's nearly unfindable in the current UI, and the more and more time goes by, I just pinned up a post from ICO. Says took less than 72 hours. Stakers are feasting. The incentive flywheel is strong. No reason to not launch on Boop, at least as long as they're giving out daily tokens. This was a quote tweet of his one we talked about last week, where he said, "Sometime in the next 2 weeks, a group of large pocketed players manufacture and moon a gigasender on Boop. Timeline gets flooded with staking rewards from the 5% airdrop to stakers. Heavy sustained buy pressure to offset airdrop unlocks. These guys know short-term incentives better than almost anyone in crypto." We were just talking about user incentives. Dingaling updated his profile. Most people weren't aware that Dingaling is more than just a prolific NFT trader and collector. Dingaling is the former the chief revenue officer of Binance, the largest exchange on the planet. Dingaling was a founder of PancakeSwap, a DEX that launched shortly after, I don't know the timeline. It basically vampired Uniswap and still a fine functioning dApp today. He's a founder of LooksRare, which was short-lived and did not have so correct me if my timeline is wrong here. Like obviously OpenSea was the NFT marketplace of all, it was 99% of the volume last cycle. Then came along, I think it was LooksRare, and then Blur, and there was some others like X2Y2 and some other smaller platforms in there. But I'm pretty sure LooksRare was the first attempt at a vampire attack on OpenSea, and it sustained for a little bit. I think we shared last week its market cap on the LooksRare token was like 250,000 30 days afterwards, and then it lost to Blur. Blur had just built a better Ponzi. But sharing that, you've got an individual and a team that have worked with, built Binance, PancakeSwap, and LooksRare. They have second mover advantage here with Boop, or not second, rather fourth, fifth, sixth, where not only they've seen the success in how Pump Fund has done it, but they've also seen a lot of other protocols attempt to launch other launch pads and fail, or not gain any traction. And I think it's safe to say already that Boop has become the number 2 launch pad. And we had other, like, why am I drawing a blank? The Radium, right? Radium?
Yeah, I was going to say, are you talking about Radium?
Yeah. I mean, Radium, large user base, reasons they could have, but they didn't launch with any real strong incentives. Like, it was a poor vampire attack. It made a lot of sense in the world for them to run a launcher or to launch a launch pad, but they didn't have the user incentives. And while I understand that the real people making money on Pump.Fun aren't the end user, aren't the retail trenchers, it's the whales and the MEV bots, that's not 100% of the space. There are trenchers. There are retail users here. Put it there. You don't want to call them retail users, call them whatever. There's people that wake up and they spend 10 to 12 hours a day in the trenches, and they're creating coins and they're buying coins. There's no reason for those users, those specific users, to launch their new token because some viral tweet just went to go over and launch that on Pump.Fun, while Boop is giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars a day to people who are using their platform. Like, he's done it before. Did LooksRare last? No. PancakeSwap still viable. Binance, again, is the dominant exchange in the space. Now, I don't know how much credit you give Ding-a-ling for that, but find me another founder in crypto that has worked with 3 organizations, protocols of that size. Like, they've got the experience. They know, to ICO's point, they understand the incentive game as good or better than anyone in the space. And they've also have experience of not having a sustainable vampire, as they did with LooksRare. Like that, I don't want to call it a failure, because I would imagine that Dingling and everyone else that was involved in that team at LooksRare, they probably made 7-8 figures each on that launch. So it's probably a very successful marketplace for them. It didn't sustain. I would imagine that they learned a lot from that lack of sustainability. I'd imagine that they said, okay, this specific mechanic didn't work, so let's try some things differently. And if you remove the thought of, oh, I have to create a token to claim my airdrop, and just focus on everything else they're doing, man, it's Blur vibes. It's Blur vibes all over again in terms of capturing the attention, capturing the mind share, building a good Ponzi. Like, and I've been saying this for maybe a year now. Why isn't anyone coming in and launching a good vampire on Pump.Fun? They're printing money. Hundreds of millions of dollars, and no one has, up until now, we haven't seen a single good vampire. I'm not saying that Boop unseats Pump.Fun. I'm not saying that Boop makes more money than Pump.Fun. What I'm convinced of, they're capturing market share, and this is going to go for a while. Like, it's not going to be zero tomorrow. People aren't going to stop using it tomorrow. I don't know if it's 30 days. I don't know if it's 300 days. I don't know if it's 3 years, but this isn't going away. This is not just some snot-nosed 18-year-old that thinks, oh, this is a hot happening space right now. I'm going to launch a meme coin launch pad and I'll do a vampire attack and we're going to capture. Like, this team knows what they're doing. Like, give them some respect. Unless you have built Binance or something on its level, then be critical. But right now, they're running circles around every other team that has attempted to compete with Pump.Fun. What did I say that's inaccurate there?
I want to bring up another thing. I don't know if you hit this real quick while I stepped away for a second and jumped back in, but Ding tweeted about the staking of Boop. So one of the mechanisms, if you stake Boop, you get certain parts of each airdrop. There's 52, and this is what you mentioned that ICO Beast reference, but to make it very specific, if there's 52 million Boop stake right now, if you had 52,000 Boop stake, that's $13,000. I like how in the world of Dingaling, $13,000 isn't a lot of money. Just says it as it's like, oh, just $13,000. Staked, you would have received $300 airdrop of port. Anyone good at math want to calculate the APY on that? This is just one token as well. What happens when we start getting multiple 8-digit runners a day, or when we go back to that? I don't know if anybody in the thing has calculated the rough math, $300 return. Here, let's see if this person's correct. I'm sourced this person. I don't know that I'm seeing in the comments. Rough math, $300 return on $13,000 is 2.3%. That's just one airdrop. Annualized, it's 27% APY. Now imagine that across multiple tokens. Plus, they could run. So I think that's the idea, is like it's creating an economy that tries to get people to participate, to launch, to say, why would I launch here versus anywhere else? Because you have an advantage, because you get a percentage of token, because you get things for doing so. So
it's the first time, it's the first thing we've seen in crypto, Steve, where people like you and I, who we're not going to go spend 10 to 12 hours in the trenches every day. And to be profitable in the trenches, you have a significant edge if you're spending 10 to 12 hours in the trenches every day. From my perspective, this is the first thing we've seen in crypto that allows people like you and me to participate in the upside of the trenches without having to actively be in the trenches.
Yeah, the staking mechanism is really interesting. Like, it's definitely a consumer product. And here's one of the things that, like, I get frustrated with on the consumer end of things, or on the crypto end of things, is we've talked about, sort of these brands that don't reward their communities very well and don't seem to care, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Like, you need to have a user to have a product. Like, Amazon didn't turn a profit getting people to use its product for years. I know it's a very straightforward product. It's a little bit different. Companies like Facebook tried to enhance the product to make it sticky before they, were turning tons of money. Having, like, the reason why Abstract seems like it's going relatively well so far is because they have a cult of users who go on and use the product. And so therefore, people get rewarded, and they're finding different ways to participate, and the, brand is rewarding them right back. Boop is saying that Pump Fun is not a product that rewards you. You could, if you are a onesies and twosies user, like, or you just want to participate through staking, you go onto Boop, and they're trying to get actual users of it, and they're trying to go after that segment versus saying, like, I think sometimes we underestimate, like, the importance of building an actual brand and actually having a group of people who use what you create. You can build the best stuff in the world, but if you don't have like, one of the great things, bullish things about the Doodles community is the amount of people who are interested in the airdrop discussion because they are so passionately involved with it. That's great. That's important. You should have a core user base. You should have a core community. And my inclination is that what Ding is trying to do here is start an actual user base of people who are brand loyalists to try and vampire attack Pump Fun, and by adding disproportionate rewards. And again, to the point in the chat, I know Drew Crit mentioned it, you mentioned it as well, like, looks rare, didn't work out so well, but this is a little bit of a, this is a good opportunity where they aren't just going KOL shopping, but they're actually giving you a reward for holding, a reward for launching, a reward for using the product. That said, I did check my airdrop allocation again. It is down like more than 10% since then, since I checked it the first time. So it's definitely down a little bit, but holding strong, it sounds like, to some degree. But I think my airdrop was my 20,000 Boop that I'm not going to claim because I'm not starting Cult was like $7,500. It is now $6,300. So it's fallen, but still holding relatively strong, stronger than I would have expected. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I don't. And by the way, I know you asked in the other thing. Do I have my Solana wallet linked to Kaido? I have no idea. I don't know what I have linked to Kaido besides my X. Honestly, I don't know if
link it. I think you might still be eligible. I think it might be retroactive if you link it.
I don't even know where to link it. I can't even see. It says change your wallet as an option. No, I have my Solana wallet on there. I have Solana wallet on there. So I did link my ETH and my Sol wallet. It's just my Sol wallet didn't do anything apparently for me. So someone also was telling me the that I don't need to launch a coin to collect a Kaido airdrop. I don't think that's true, right? Like you still do need.
There's two. It's just you have to have your Solana wallet linked.
Right, but like, do I not need to do anything and I can just claim this airdrop?
There's two. There's one for your Kaido KOL. That's the one where you got to create a token to claim it. The other one is just the DGen claim that's linked to your Solana wallet, but your Solana wallet has to be linked to your Kaido account.
Got it. But either way, if I connect my wallet and it says you're not eligible for an airdrop, it doesn't
only matter. If you're, but you need to go into your Kaido, and like if you click in the upper right on like your profile, like next to your yaps, like the upper right, and then right below your I'll just show you. Right below your your name here, change your wallet. Do you see that?
Yeah, it says it has my Solana wallet linked. So
okay, so if your Solana wallet's in there, then on the Boop claim page, you just disconnect from the one you checked. It showed the 20,000 and connect to the DGen one, and that would, if you're eligible, it would be in there.
Yeah, and I'm not. So for whatever reason, I haven't done a ton of meme coin trading, but it was a little surprising. But I am not. So I am out of luck on the claim. And yeah, like the question was, do I need Kaido shouldn't require. I mean, Beasting is saying that the meme coin airdrop requires a token launch. The Kaido one shouldn't require it, but it appears it does.
No, it's just you didn't qualify for the one that doesn't require one.
Right. The one that doesn't require one is the wallet. Mm-hmm. The Kaido one does require it, is what it's saying. So, oh well. So I'm not getting rich anytime soon off that. And I will, again, not planning to launch, not planning to cult. So we will we'll go from there. Just not but congrats to all those who have and are. 186 out of 300 spots remaining at my tier, so other people will be able to claim that as it goes, and then in 30 days, hopefully claim their play. I see, I see even people like Nick. See, here's the thing. Here's an example though of like knowing it's there's a get rich Nick. It says test do not buy 2 minutes ago. Launched 2 minutes ago. It went up, it went down. I don't know. Again, there is somebody who mentioned the concept of, and it looks like Nick the dev sold pretty much all of the tokens, which is smart. But I did have somebody send me a message, and it was an interesting thing that where they said launch it. So it's like test, do not buy, choose rich. There's the sale. I don't know if he just sold all the tokens at basically nothing, or just dumped them, or sent them to a burn wallet or what, but you can see on the opening page, it does tie in like, oh, okay, there's his @ it's right there. That's Nick. Got it. So it does show that when you're looking at the various people, like who's launched where. If it is up top, like Mark Colser launched like Lions here, Detroit Super Bowl champs. And again, you can see it went up, it went down. He's launching it to claim probably. I don't know if he's sold or done anything with it, but
you can see if you scroll down, you can scroll down a little bit. And right there, he bought 1.9%.
Yeah. So somebody had told me like just get.
But you don't have to buy. You can launch without buying.
Yeah, I would just as easily launch, and like I had someone suggest just send the 99% of the allocation to a burn wallet, and then I launched it, I burned it, I tested, I did it.
So you could do that, but you would have to spend a lot more money to buy 99% of the supply.
Got it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to play in this game, but I'm glad for those who are, and I'm excited for people who are claiming an airdrop in 30 days. And I think a lot more people are participating.
Why I'm so excited? It's not just Boop. It's we've been beating this, and we need to come up with a better name because InfoFi is not it. But this, I think this Kaido flywheel is just beginning, and I know we're probably different. Our view of Kaido is different. But
I think it's probably the same, actually, but go ahead.
It's insanely motivating for me. Like, I really want to start putting out more content because it's very clear to me how much money I'm leaving on the table by not doing so. We have the platform. We're in position to do so. Now it's just a matter of doing the work. This isn't going to be the last big claim from Kaido this year. In fact, I think everyone that does well like this, like at this point, I think while people are talking about Boop, I think Kaido is getting as much attention as Boop from this. And I just, every one of these that is a good launch, it's, I think, increasingly likely that Kaido is a part of the next big launch. Maybe Dude doesn't do anything with them because they don't feel they need to, because they have a base that they've been growing for the last 4 years. But someone new launching in this space with big plans that's well funded, I'd be shocked if they don't go the Kaido marketing agency route. And for those of us that are here, like, I agree with ICOBs. I don't know as if there's ever been a better, well, actually, the best time to start creating content was probably like 4 months ago. You didn't do it then, start today, plant the tree today, because I think this could be, I don't know how long it lasts, but I think for a while, maybe the rest of this cycle, we are going to see massive wins coming out of those that are helping launch these protocols, these platforms. And by helping launch, I mean by talking about them, by sharing what you know about them on the timeline. It's insane. If you actually step back and just think about the amount of money that people are collecting for talking about things that in some cases they probably already talk about anyways, it's wild, man. Like, it's really wild. And maybe this is just naivety. Maybe this is hopium. I got to think, once word starts getting out proportionately how lucrative it is to create content in this space, I could see a flood of existing content creators coming in and wanting to participate here.
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, I think we generally agree on Kaido, which is like I would say it's social-fi. Like people say info-fi, it's social-fi. It is the, and I would be inclined to agree with you on the opportunity. In fact, I responded to ICO Beast and basically said, I'm wasting my time because I like exploring other ecosystems, and I probably just need to pick 1 or 2 pre-TGE and sink my teeth into it. And then once I do that, see where we net out, because I do think that there is a major opportunity here, period, for anybody. Like, I go to the pre-TGE. So for people who don't know, if you're not familiar with Kaido, I'll sort of share the screen and show it off. I mean, Kaido is this whole pre-TGE leaderboard. So you can go up here, pre-TGE arena, and it shows all these different, pre-TGEs. It shows abstract, which I participate a little bit in. I doubt I'm on the abstract leaderboard. I don't share enough on there. It shows OpenSea on there as an option, which, again, is like, we know C, Mega ETH, Ethos, which again, I, haven't confirmed a token, but sure could be, Linnea, Monad, Somnia, Caldera is the new one that's sort of hot in the street, Infinex. So you could go to these pre-TGEs, find ones that you truly believe in. And if they are using yaps in any way, shape, or form, which I think something like a Somnia, for example, is, we've seen Grateful Ape climb up that really quickly. I wonder where Grateful Ape's at on this one. And
it's not just what's out there currently. It's not like, yes, this is great advice. If there's something on the launchpad that you're interested in, talk about it on the timeline. Make sure you have your Kaido account set up. But it's not just this. I think what I wasn't seeing until Boop was, oh my goodness, the collective of all this is really the win. It's not about how many followers you have. It's not about how frequent you're reply guying. Like, I think we went from the reply guy engagement era to the real winners now are not going to be the ones that put out, low effort, high volume stuff. It's going to be the ones that actually put out good, thoughtful, intentful content. And you could get rewarded for that from a DApp that hasn't even been thought of yet. A DApp that's going to launch in 6 months from now. But they're going to tap into Kaido, which is going to give them visibility into everything you've put out for the past year. And this is a person we want talking about us as well. That's what's happening. This was kind of like the aha moment for me with Boop, that I hadn't seen yet, the power of Kaido. It's like, oh my goodness. I don't talk that much about meme coins on my timeline, but I've got, a Tesla waiting for me if the chart holds, because of Kaido, because Kaido says, hey, Boop, you should reward Cap because he's a consistent, higher quality content producer in this space. Boop doesn't know me. Boop has no knowledge of me except by way of Kaido. And this was before I ever said a thing about Boop. Like, that was the big unlock for me. Is this making sense?
Yeah, I think like the counterpoint to that would be that it's mostly like, so there are 2 ways to look at it. I think one, yes, I agree with you. I think the counterpoint people would make, which I'm not on board with, but just for the sake of putting it on this end, it's like the counterpoint would be people could be creating really good quality content who are like smaller creators, and they're just going to get buried. Whereas like certain people who are higher following creators are going to do well, right? Like, whereas like a Whale Swoosh or someone like that can just put, a $, whatever's on the Kaido leaderboard in a tweet and absolutely crush it. Like $ Barrow, whatever that whole thing is, or Polkadot. So that's the counter, is that suddenly a bunch of people who didn't care about Polkadot pretend they care about Polkadot. They get their airdrop, they leave, and the people who eat the most are the high creators. So that is there, but I think there is an opportunity for people to climb their way up if they actually dive in deep. And I think my recommendation, if you are a smaller account right now, who is interested in this, or you're not like one of those mega accounts like a Whale Swoosh or whoever it may be, this is what I'm going to do as a smaller-ish account, is dive into an individual ecosystem and be really dedicated to that, so that the company knows that you're really about it, and they're more likely to amplify you because you're putting out, to your point, quality content. I think a lot of people will be cynical about it, and I think there is some cynicism to be had because there are people who are going to eat, because every system can be taken advantage of. We're in crypto, that happens. But I agree with you, because I think like Grateful Ape's a good example on the Somnia leaderboard. Grateful Ape was top at one point, just playing around Insomnia. TGE is going to come up at some point. Used the test net, talked about the test net, climbed up. Grateful Ape is a big account, but not a massive account, but is able to get a lot of attention doing it. So I think that's a good, I think it's a good example of one that is climbing their way up. But yeah, I do think
why, if you're active in this space, why wouldn't you create a Kaido account? Is there any downside to doing so, in your opinion?
No, there's no downside. And I'm pretty conservative about things, but I definitely don't see a downside as I don't think there is a downside. I don't see why you wouldn't, because I got a random Kaido airdrop and I've gotten random things that I've claimed and gotten cinched just because of it. So no, I don't see a downside at all.
Yep, agreed.
Yvonne Fretton says content creator arc is not my journey. I'd rather make money other ways, which is fair. Like, but I think like for me personally, as someone who does create content for my job, like focusing my sights on the things that are being built that are on that leaderboard is probably a smart move for me to then, see what happens come TGEs.
I would agree, but at the same time, you don't have to go all in. You don't have to make this your job to create content after you link your Kaido account. But to Steve's point, I don't see a downside connecting your Kaido account. Yes, you're giving some information to Kaido. Yes, you're helping them grow their business and make money. But if you're posting on X at all, you never know when you might get a cook. Like Clouded yesterday talked about the 0 day on Solana, where allegedly more than 70% of the validators like knew about it and quickly solved the thing. And I didn't get it, but it was kind of like a shit post / informative post on something that was happening in the space, and it cooked. It got like 1,000 likes, and he's the second yapper on the day, right? He has a smaller account than both of us, but he just put out a post about the space and it did numbers. And now the next boop that launches that decides to go back and reward top yappers, he's probably going to get a 4 or 5 figure airdrop because he had one tweet that cooked yesterday.
That's what it's all about here too. It's like you have the ability to jump into that leaderboard and get yourself on it in that way. Like, so I agree. I think that's the alpha, is like, just connect, talk about what you want to talk about. That's one way. Or don't connect or connect and talk about things you maybe wouldn't otherwise talk about, but explore some stuff. Like that's been my prerogative. My prerogative has been, I want to talk about certain things, so I'm going to dive in on it. And, we'll and that's where I'm going to go. So I'm going to probably start looking at the pre-TGE arena and start thinking about some of these and seeing if there's like cool test nets that I can start playing around on. And, if I can climb a little bit and do well pre-TGE, great. The thing that I worry about is I don't want to get myself competitively keeping up with the Joneses, where like I talk about some stuff, I climb high, and then I'm like, oh no, I fell to 3. Now I need to talk more, and I get frustrated. And
that's the downside. That's the downside, is putting a bunch of effort in and then not getting rewarded with a big airdrop and being pissed that someone else got a bigger airdrop because they put a shit post out that did better. That is, if you get too emotionally into it, I think that's the downside. If you have expectations and you start thinking Kaido is going to pay your mortgage for the next year, that's when I think you could be chasing the wrong carrot.
It's not even necessarily like Kaido paying your mortgage, but I could see myself just with how I approach things being like, well, this sucks. Like I was number 1 for like the entire time, and now I've gone down to number 5, and I have a lower airdrop, and I shared genuine content, and I really cared, and like it's like that part where I could see that being like I stress out over falling from 1 to out of the top 10, and what does that mean when that airdrop comes around, and then I worked so hard for nothing, and now's the time to really maximize it, and so I think that there's like that danger that I would throw out there of like getting caught up in the game a little bit, but I know Gelazo jumped up and had maybe some thoughts on this, so feel free to get in here. GM Gelazo.
Yeah, appreciate it. GM Steve, GM Captain. What encouraged me to jump up is when Captain said that, talking about how this the action of this incentivizes, right? The whole Cato airdrop meta of creating content online and then getting paid for that. I kind of want to reframe it a little bit because, you guys do this professionally, right? Like you guys have sponsors, you guys get paid. Lots of the small guys like me out here who have been, creating little content here and there on pieces of things that I find interesting. I do because I find interesting, right? I'm not doing it to get paid, which is why I think this is such an interesting meta that we're kind of living in right now. Because people can now create content they're interested in, and because that's valuable to that ecosystem, they get paid for it. So it's yes, those incentives do exist. That flywheel is there to get people to create content about certain things at certain times. But what this really enables is smaller individual creators who are passionate, knowledgeable about ecosystems to get paid for their interests, really, and for sharing that with a larger community. So while I don't think these point systems are 100% perfect, like I think I got overpaid for my Cato airdrop, for example. I do think it's really powerful and allows smaller creators to really benefit in a way that I think Web3 was designed to. You can do what you want to do and get paid for it because it's providing value to somebody somewhere. And I think that's what this ecosystem enables more than any other. That's why I think Web3 is so compelling. Definitely think the incentives can be I wouldn't say problematic necessarily, but powerful in that it may drive attention in certain areas, and the power of these platforms is something we should consider as well. But generally speaking, I think it's great for smaller creators to write about what they're passionate about and get paid for it.
So let me take the other side of that and get your opinion on this, just playing devil's advocate for funsies, okay? So let's pretend you have an MFer, you used to host a show that was based completely on MFers and have had a ton of people on. You talk about them, you're participatory in the ecosystem. And I know this is a weird example because MFers are CC0 and put them out into the wild and all that stuff, but like bear with me on this one for the sake of the argument, because obviously it's something you're passionate about. So you've talked, you've hosted these shows, you've done all these hours, and then MFers end up on the Kaido leaderboard. They're like, hey, MFers are doing an airdrop where, Satoshi says, I have a bunch of money, I have a bag, you're going to be able to get claims done. So go ahead and get out here to claim, okay? So we're going to say this is happening. Then you all of a sudden see you get a airdrop of $72 and watch people getting $72,000 airdrops because these bigger accounts came in and pretended like, oh, here's why MFers are the greatest thing of all time. And here's why I love MFers. And you're like, wait a minute, this person doesn't even own one and they don't know anything about it. But here they are with this big airdrop. And then you sit there and get like $72 and watch these people get 72,000, get their airdrop and never talk about MFers again. How does that make you as a creator who was talking about the thing you're feeling passionate about? How does that make you feel as a creator? Because that is a not unrealistic scenario of an outcome. Like, how does that make you feel as a creator if that were to happen to you?
That's a super realistic situation, and I appreciate you bringing it up. So, but before my current position where I'm a community manager at Flow, I was working at a company called HLV. All we did there was tokenomics, token design, token launch expertise. That's what we did. People come to us, we help them with figuring out how to launch a token correctly. And a big chunk of that is figuring out those incentives and designing systems around that to make sure that the right people get rewarded. And again, I think that is, and you're bringing up a valid concern. What it really comes down to, and something Captain touched on earlier, is these expectations. Expectations around token launches are the biggest indicator of whether they will be successful or a failure. If they're too overhyped, if people are expecting a $10 billion FTV on day one, doesn't matter how they came to that conclusion. If that's the expectation and it's a $5 billion TGE, that's a failure. People will massively sell. So for the companies who are creating these things, it's a really, really complicated dance of creating hype and getting people to be excited about it while keeping those expectations as low as possible, which is effectively impossible. And the other side of that is you do no marketing, no promotion, a stealth launch TGE, and then that's rife with scams. People are getting, connecting to the wrong contracts, claiming the wrong tokens. And so, it's a really, really complicated system where you have to do your absolute, and in the specific example you brought up, I'd be pissed, right? That's, correct. If Satoshi drops something and I've been a creator doing it organically for a while, and then some big name comes in and just, starts shilling and they're not even involved, that would not be correct. So and again, that's why I brought up earlier, like how these platforms work and the power that they have to incentivize content, is something we should be aware of, right? They are, creating armies out of individual people that seem organic, but some of them are just farming and it's trying to get paid. So you bring up the right issue. But there are lots of teams and companies out there who are very, very thoughtful about this and do a lot better than I think what Boop has done, to properly align those incentives so the right people get paid, feel like they're doing the right thing, and ideally, like how Cato did their airdrop, I think people just created the content they wanted to create, and that the incentives were aligned so that it was rewarding people for things they were doing organically, which should be the goal.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's it. And I think that the reason I brought up that example, which is somewhat extreme, but also somewhat realistic, is that is the theoretical argument against Kaido. No, to me, the answer is you didn't used to get paid for tweeting about things you liked anyway. So like it's free money that you're getting in your pocket. And that's the answer for big, small, or medium creators. But I do think that there is a definite discussion to be had about the fact that people do come in, pretend to care about things and leave, which is like, I think my initial issue with Kaido is that you did run into that thing where, people came in and said, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. And in reality, like it was just, they didn't care. The airdrop happened and they leave. And that is how some of it happens on Kaido. Like, but it's a matter of like, yeah, if like you end up with, and it was an extreme example, but it's like, if somebody is super involved in the ecosystem, absolutely loves something, and then a bunch of KOLs come in, pretend to care and leave. Like I'm seeing this happen. I'm not going to call it out, but like, I don't know, like you see this happen with like Avalanche. Like Avalanche paid some KOLs, so like they're very like that's part of their marketing. And there are people in Avalanche who are like, I really cared about this and talked about it. And now I feel like I'm drowned out, right? And like, people care about the KOLs. And then I see, Sui seems to be the newest one that we're seeing where it's like, it's kind of like a hot, like, hot in the streets, blockchain, they had base camp, a lot of people were there. And I'm like, okay, like a lot of creators are getting excited about Sui now. I don't know what that means. I don't know why. I don't know what if there's an incentive structure there, if people are being paid, but people are suddenly talking about Sui quite a bit. It's like, there are people who are in that ecosystem who were excited beforehand. So I think it's important to understand that distinction exists, but that's also just the world, right? Like that happens, if I'm really passionate about a sports team, then Mr. Beast is a fan of them, people are going to care more about Mr. Beast commentary than mine, just how it works. So I think it's a worthwhile discussion. Cap, that said, any other thoughts? I know it's about 9:52, but that's my stack for the day. Any other cleanup or things we might have missed?
I did. Well, a couple things from left to right up top. I pinned a very important poll. If you missed that over the weekend, go tell us which generation has shaped the world the most. I pinned a post from Whale expanding on this topic we were discussing this morning. He says, I think airdrop farming will be heavily dominated by InfoFi this year. We're already seeing it. Talks about the Kaido reward station. The link to that, if you've not yet set up your Kaido account, is up top. We were referencing the one from Beast. Also, the Space Doodles, if you're looking for that link, it's up top in the Greenie post. And as well as Vanglow's Dude calculator. And then I'll repost the carousel since I was late with that today. My bad. It's going to be all the way to the left as Steve closes this out here. Go hit those reminders for the rest of the week. We would greatly appreciate it. And I feel there was something else, but I didn't make note of it. So it must not have been that important, or we can talk about it tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, that said, we'll let everyone.
I remember what it was. It's not really like noteworthy. Probably not even worth talking about tomorrow. So I'll blurt it out now. The family office in Dubai funding the Maldives to the tune of $8 billion, which is more than their GDP. going to be an interesting development to follow. I think might be moving to the Maldives.
Yeah, hey man, if I didn't have, I often think about like, I would never trade anything with my kids for the world. It's the greatest thing ever. I love it. I love being a dad. It's something that's always important to me. But I always think, if I didn't have kids, where would I be and what would I be doing? And the answer is, it wouldn't be where I am right now, and I would probably do something different. It is what it is. Like, I think about like, Dawn could have come with me to Paris and all these other things that are different. And so it's just a whole different ball game. But I don't know. Life is long. Medical science is getting better. I'm taking a ton of vitamins, which apparently triggered some people over the weekend, but other people were super supportive. There are a couple of people who are like, that's bad for you. That's bad for you. Oh, do this. Oh, you're, but I taking vitamins is bad. But I'm trying to live longer. So, when I am 48, 49, 50, I can start the second half of my life in wherever I want to be and make it work. And that's what we'll do. But, yeah, that said,
back out. You reminded me. I'll get my, I delayed all the added stuff, so I wouldn't be scream puking on the show today, but we'll hit it hard after we wrap here. And I just, like, we had lacrosse banquet last night, right? And I mentioned my daughter is just finishing up her junior year, so one more year here at home, and then whether it's the Maldives or I don't know, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, so somewhere even warmer than Florida, I think is very much in my future. And I say this, like, I think we're going to, I don't know how all this works. Like, I agree. You make that size of investment. It's like, okay, they're the boss now, they're in control. And so I could just see, the thought I had is like, the new way to grow an empire might not be by, I haven't thought this serious. This may come off really bad. May not be by fighter jets and tanks and nuclear war or war in general, but rather, we're just gonna buy it. We're just gonna fund you, and now it's gonna be our island. I could see more of these crypto-friendly countries expanding their
empire,
expanding their footprint, their empire by doing stuff like this. And giving us more options where we can live in tax favorable locations.
Different form of world building, right? Like, and if you pay the bills, you own the empire, like you said. I mean, my house, my rules. That's kind of what they're doing with that investment, right? I mean, it's similar to, if your parents are paying your bills, then your parents get to tell you a little bit what to do. If you pay your own bills, you get to be an independent adult. Like, things happen, so, and everything in between. But that said, we'll let everybody sail off another day. Good discussion this morning, I think, about all the different stuff. Appreciate everyone who came through to chat. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.